It being January 7th, 2025, I'm gonna call, in a quorum present, I'm gonna call the meeting to order of the Conservation Commission. We are being recorded and live on Zoom, and then for future broadcast on cable and the town's YouTube. The first order of business was meeting minutes for December 17th. Is there any, where did they go? Comments, edits, I can bring them up if necessary.
Yes, if you don't mind.
It's loading, here we go. Just let me know when you're ready to scroll.
You guys each mint chocolate and then I forgot and didn't remember till I was home.
So
So next time I'll bring it.
If you scroll. Thank you.
Scrolling.
And while you're reading through, on 13 Lantern Lane, we hadn't gotten a DEP number, so I checked the NOI lookup yesterday and they don't even have a record of the application. So something must have happened in the submission process. So I reached out to DEP yesterday and I haven't heard back. So tonight we'll have to just continue it for the time being.
That's bizarre, cause she did EDEP, and I
Yes.
looked at the cover sheet, it says Rutland and everything, like she
Yeah.
definitely did it
And I
right.
sent them a copy of it, cause I said we had
Yeah.
everything, I had copies of all the checks, she paid everything, so I don't know what happened.
That's so weird.
Yeah, cause even if they're waiting for funds, it still shows up in the portal.
Right, without a number.
Yeah,
Right, there's nothing there.
and it's been plenty of time for it to have
Yeah,
shown up.
that's weird.
Scroll.
She must be getting a little bit frustrated at this point, I would
She
think.
actually hasn't reached out, I think because of the winter, I think they're maybe not in such of a rush.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Cause yeah,
true.
she hasn't said anything,
Yeah, I mean, it's nice, there's no soil moving.
yes.
And she's bearing with us, yeah, so that's weird.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as written. That was my first.
Do you still need time, Tim? You still reading?
second them.
Okay. All those in favor by roll call,
Bjork and I.
Keenan, I.
Williams and I,
and Dan's an aye. Alright, minutes are approved. Perfect. So the first public hearing and only public hearing is 13 Lantern Lane, which Tamika just briefed us on. We still don't have a DEP number. For some reason, DEP doesn't have a record of it, so we're still waiting to hear back from them. So we do need to continue this until the 21st.
There was still the issue of the sill fence not being trenched in.
So I had reached out to her after the
They could
last
probably do much
meeting.
now.
Well, she indicated that the ground was frozen.
Yeah.
And so they were gonna have to wait for it to thaw a little bit, and unfortunately, we just ended up with this Arctic cold weather. So although I don't have confirmation, I have a feeling it probably hasn't been drenched in
I
yet,
would say.
yeah,
Just keep a note of it running,
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
all I guess.
absolutely.
any other comments or things we wanna talk about on 13 Lantern tonight?
I think last time you said that the brush was still in the stream, or I don't know if that's been rectified yet.
Yeah, this is the
I
last
went there, it
meeting,
wasn't.
yeah.
Yep.
I don't know.
And I did reach out to her after the last meeting to reiterate that it was still there and to please communicate that to the residents, but she didn't indicate that
Yeah.
it was cleaned out or anything.
Anything else we wanna talk about? Good, if not, I will accept a motion to continue until January 21st.
Motion to continue till January 21st.
Is there a second? All those in favor by roll call?
Bjork and I.
Jean and I.
Williams and I.
Dan's at aye, so that's continued. Alright, old and new business, Route 56 Pommogussett Road, discussion of erosion concerns at the dam. Is there anyone in the audience here for this at all? I don't see anyone in person. I don't think, Tamika, you didn't hear back from anyone?
I didn't know.
Okay.
Good evening, this is John Morgan with CHA. I'm here representing the designer.
Hi, thank you for joining us. So I think for the last meeting, we were looking for an update. We had some erosional concerns after some of the recent rainstorms that we had. Was there anything, I know there was something specific, but I can't put my finger on it.
Well, when I went out there after they finished the construction work, I could only find one little wattle, like a ways down the stream below the dam on the Warrington property. And it was half buried with silt and nothing else was stabilized. There was no erosion control netting, there was no riprap, nothing, no wattles or anything. So I just really wanted to touch base with DOT to see what their stabilization plans were. And then I went out more recently and did another inspection and I took some photos and it looked like the majority of the construction area had been stabilized except for the site on the, what's the name of the pond?
Molten?
Except the side of the Molten Pond shoreline there was the only thing I saw that still had to be stabilized. And like the downstream pond was filled up again. So.
Okay, I can pass it along to Mass DOT and they can get that addressed.
I guess we kind of have concerns about like more precipitation events and to make sure everything's.
Especially as we thaw in the spring.
And come spring, and if we get a heavy rainstorm and we have a frozen ground, that would be a bad situation, so. Coming from.
All right.
So do you know any specific timeline for stabilization at all, or? John?
I don't. I can certainly pass this along to Mass DOT and the resident engineer and have them prioritize it. So it's really the Molten Pond side that was still a concern you indicated?
Yes, I mean, it had been, if, we have some photos to look at, but it looked like some areas had been seeded. And, so, I mean, obviously nothing's gonna grow right now, but yeah, we're
Right.
just, we wanna make sure that it's all buttoned up for now, for the winter.
Right. Okay, I will certainly let them know of your concern.
Okay, thanks, John. And then the only other thing was, did we ever get drainage plans for Route 56 above and below the dam, do you know?
We would have during the initial NOI. So we can either,
I saw the one catch basin in the roadway, I think, but that was it. And I think they put some curbing as well to try to contain some of the street runoff.
Right. In the vicinity of the culvert and the dam itself, because it is a dam, we weren't allowed to put any drainage structures within the dam limits itself. So what you have is a catch basin just north and just south probably of the dam to collect runoff, and then because the dam is actually at a low point, that's why we created there's a little channel that goes under the sidewalk that allows runoff on the Molten Pond Dam, on the Molten Pond side. And on the opposite side at that low point is where the stone, it's kind of a stone channel swale that starts at the road and then goes down the slope. And that's really because of the requirements from DCR that no drainage structures could be located on the roadway, which is considered part of the dam at this point.
Do you know if there were any measures taken to keep stormwater out of the resident's driveway at 69?
Residence driveway at 69, so they're just south of the dam, correct? There is a catch basin just south of their driveway that would collect runoff coming down the hill. So that catch basin was intended to collect runoff before it goes down their driveway. That's at approximately station 33 plus 25 left.
Okay, thanks. I just remember when we had those site meetings and I know that property owner was in attendance and he obviously has concerns, ongoing concerns about sediment and stormwater impacts to his property.
Okay.
And I mean, we do too, because I mean, obviously it's a jurisdictional resource area right in front of his house.
Right.
So we want to try to limit the amount of sediment now that the dam work is completed.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that was what we had intended was for the catch basin to collect any runoff before it goes down the driveway. Obviously, there'll be some runoff that goes down their driveway, but it should be limited with that catch basin there.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else from other commissioners on this particular one? Okay.
I'm sorry, well, maybe this is afterwards, we should talk about, I also did an inspection to the Warrington property.
Yeah, we'll
but
do
I'm-
that in a second.
If you wanna do that later.
Unless there's something that ties into this while John is here.
Not really.
Okay. Alright, so we meet next in 2 weeks. John, if you could even give us kind of a brief update on stabilization plans and things before our next meeting, I think that would be greatly appreciated.
Okay. Yeah, I can report back or have somebody from Mass DOT report back at the next meeting.
Alright, thank you.
All right. Thanks. Have a good night, everyone.
You too.
Thanks, you too.
Alright, so yes, we'll talk about the dam now. Do you want me to share the photos?
Sure.
You got it, dude.
I don't really feel like a site inspection should have been done much sooner than it was done. Because, I mean, we got a bunch of rain and it was ripping, so if there was any sediment left in the streams
It's gone now.
below his property, it's been washed down into the BBW, so. You know, the flow is on his side, so there's no sediment and the pond's refilled, so. I couldn't really tell like much either, like. Cause the water was like flowing super
Completely
hard.
different than when we were there the first time.
Yeah, it does. Oh, that's
So is that coming, oh, is
It's
that
going under-
rusted out?
going under the pipe.
Oh god. So this is the spillover into,
That's probably the one right at his house.
I get,
Yes, it's on the other side of the dam and it runs down the stream behind his house. That's the outlet to his dam,
okay,
but it's going below that pipe, as you can see.
Yeah, I think you can see it's a
Because there's holes in the
it's a
dam.
little rusted. Oh,
He wants to work on the dam, so.
yeah. Guess that makes it. That's the new spillway, or is that still
I think that's still the same one.
Um,
Same pipe.
almost looks like the
yeah, let me see what angle that was. Is it the main outlet?
it's like I see this wall, but I don't know if that's interior.
That's a different pipe. The pipe we just looked at was more in the foreground here, like closer to us.
That looks like the water's actually coming through the pipe and
Yeah.
not underneath it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's the main discharge.
Oh, cause there's the wheel.
Yeah, so that's the main discharge,
Okay.
but the other area is just leaking, like
Yep. Okay.
discharging because of the dam
I've oriented myself. Alright.
is in bad shape.
These are really pretty pictures.
Thank you.
Very, like,
As much as
artistic. I
the
like
rusted
them.
pipe is not a great thing, it kinda looks cool with the
It
water
does.
sloshing.
That was a good picture, right into the sun.
So is
Oh,
this
this,
across the
that's,
street?
that's on
That's
the
the pond.
Molten Pond, that's an
Okay.
unstabilized shoreline below the dam. There's the catch basin. Is that the one he was talking about?
It's hard to tell.
I know. Cause there's only one catch basin, right, he said,
Yeah,
that must be it.
I thought it
But
was
there
on the
should
same
be
side.
one, maybe there's another catch basin further up, I just didn't
Okay.
see.
There is.
I didn't
I'll
walk
show
up
you
that
where
far.
to look at the plans afterwards.
get the
Cause I
station
found
number.
some quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, they
that's-
just threw a ton of
Yeah.
riprap down.
There's like sediment on top of it, so it's like clearly spilling through the rocks at some point. I'm surprised they don't have the curtains still out at the base here for a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's such a standard practice, right?
To the stable.
Do you mean like the blue thing that was there? Or was that just holding the water back?
I think the blue big tarp was holding the water back. There's
It
something.
was like a cough, some type of
Copper dam.
copper
Thank
dam
you, yeah.
structure, wasn't
But
it?
it's like this. I don't know. It could sit. It's like a curtain in the water.
Oh, okay. I've never heard that before.
So like it's mostly it'll catch stuff on top, but
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool how they did that.
it was It was tall too.
Was there, I didn't even realize. I didn't even look. I think there's mesh under that.
It looked like there was in some places.
I thought I saw mesh under that straw, but I couldn't tell from. Of course, I was pulling out
they
and he
had-
was pulling in and we had to have a
There was erosion
conversation.
control blankets on the other side. I remember when we went there
Yeah.
to look at Mr. Warrington's property, when they had done that slope, or at least, or maybe it was from a picture, actually, it was from a picture that was, but they had definitely put blankets down.
Yeah, I think there are blankets under there. But there's still, I mean, some exposure. I don't know if they just didn't have time to complete it or they ran out of materials or.
That was the end of it.
Okay, thanks.
So in terms of the Warrington property, did that seem like you couldn't find any obvious evidence of things that was happening? It was just all kind of the stabilization for the dam stuff.
How did the pond get filled up again though?
I don't know.
Anita.
It's Yeah, I guess that is a good question. 'Cause we haven't really had,
It's a miracle.
it's a miracle. It's the natural spring
What did
water.
we, I can't even remember what we told him, like, did we tell him we enforced him because of the sediment, and did we tell him he's not allowed to work on his private dam structure without a permit?
Yeah,
Mhm.
We did tell them that.
and we asked them to clean up, make an effort to clean up what was visible and did that, and that's what we were gonna
Yeah.
check on.
He said he was all set and that the enforcement order had been lifted.
I don't think it's been lifted yet, but I think because he stopped and restored it, he complied. It's just up, so our final step would then be issuing some sort of letter certifying that you've met the conditions of, therefore this no longer applies. And is that something that we wanna do now or wait until, at least the first thaw, just to make sure that things are the way that they are? Might be good to wait a
And
little
when
bit.
the water's not like ripping through there, like, so we can actually see what's going on,
Yeah, I think this is something maybe we should just keep on our docket for a little bit. We don't necessarily have to see it every meeting, but maybe even once every 2 meetings. Just have a quick check-in, especially as the weather starts to warm up. Excuse me.
That sounds lovely.
Does.
The weather's gonna warm up.
It stays light.
Maybe
a
not
little
soon,
later.
but
What do you call it when you're done with an enforcement order? Do you call it closing it out?
yeah.
Okay,
Like,
it's
there's
okay if I
no-
use that language?
Yeah, there's
Okay.
no COC form for it. It's just like a motion. Usually what I do is I just issue a letter saying the commission voted to lift the enforcement order due to compliance.
Lift, thank you.
Oh, I
You used
have
a different
actually, I have an example of a compliance letter that I asked MSMCP discussional group, because I had to do one for the high school on Main Street.
word. Do you mind sending it?
Not,
And I
it's
can
a-
add it to our.
I was like, a compliance letter? This is new. Paul McManus asked me for it. He said, can you write him a compliance letter? Sure, be happy to.
I'll add it to my templates.
My God, why isn't there just like a download button? It's fine. I'll add, Glenda, if you're okay, can I add these photos to the share drive?
Sure.
Oh, I can't paste things. Oh, right, okay, I'm gonna figure that out later. Alright, so anything else on Pommogussett related dam properties? Okay. Brice Estates, follow up on dewatering situation at wetland crossing. I haven't seen anything come through, have you gotten anything?
So at the last meeting, you had asked me to reach out to Alan to see what the follow-up was after they had their site visit with DEP. So Alan shared a letter that was provided to Clee. And then there was also some communications received since then regarding the 401 water quality.
Okay,
So yeah, so I
Is that in the
uploaded everything
folder?
that I have, yep.
that's cute, so sorry.
Oh, yeah, I have the email from Rantala. You posted it
Yes,
right
I
on
put
the
it in
thing.
the, yep, I put it on the
Yeah.
share drive.
Could we maybe just take a quick look at that email? Has anyone else been out there to see this dewatering situation,
I haven't seen this particular
Diversion.
one.
whatever they're doing either? They're hoping to have everything backfilled by Friday or early next week.
This was mid-December.
That was back in December, yeah. And then we also received communication from Chris Lucas.
Then they can remove the pipe and put the stream bed back. That sounds so bad.
And the crossing is smaller, which you think was good, but it's not actually good.
Is this something that like the commission should have a group site visit on? Or are we just like letting Ransella handle it or?
Sorry,
I don't even know.
was there the actual letter? Did you upload?
No, I thought I did.
Or you see this
Just
401
email.
and Chris?
I apologize. Just for the heck of it, do you wanna just check the Brice Estates folder to see if I accidentally put it there but not?
I'm gonna
in
stop
this
sharing for
folder?
a second so I
Okay.
don't give people a aneurysm. No, it's
You'll
not
get
you.
that.
Flashing lights.
Yeah, Brian, is it in like under
The,
address or under the main ones?
it would be under the main
Brice Lemon.
Brice Lemon Estates, but NOI for phase 4 and 5.
So it's like DEP's on this.
Yep, there it is, right
Yeah,
underneath.
there it is.
Sorry, I
Okay.
just didn't
No,
move
you're
over.
fine, you're fine. Okay.
Oh boy.
Alright, so this is basically, we acknowledge that something happened, but we're not doing anything with it at this point. That's how I read it, at least,
Oh, enforcement action.
but only if additional.
So it's like a slap on the hand almost, type of deal.
Okay. Oh no, that's what we just saw. And then this is Chris Lucas's report. Okay, what's the difference
Excuse me.
between Brice Estates and Brice Lemon?
None.
Okay,
So it used to be Brice Lemon and then it was later changed to Brice Estates.
okay,
So they're kind
just
of one and
making
the same.
sure. Cause I feel like every time I look, it calls it something different.
Yeah, they use the terms interchangeably.
What's this?
This is the Lucas letter. The revisions associated with crossing 3 in compliance with the stream crossing standards.
The
Lucas letter.
401.
Yeah,
is
sorry,
true.
I've moved on, yeah.
Okay.
Related but not.
Okay, so crossing number 3, where would this crossing be located?
Woodside, that's like the
That's the
first one on Woodside, coming off Charnock? No, or is this the one with the issue?
I think this is the one that we permitted recently in phases 4 and 5. I think it's the
Oh,
one
you're
that's
right.
connecting
Okay.
the two
Oh my god.
Phases 4 and 5.
Yep, this is
Okay.
the one that connects phases 4 and 5.
Oh, I'm glad you're paying attention.
And I threw that out there and hoped it stuck. I wasn't sure.
You know what, I'll believe you,
No, I'm pretty sure
I'll
that's what it
believe
is.
you.
Crossing number 3.
Yeah, cause number 2 on Sedona Circle, that's on the other Charnock Hill
Yep.
side.
Woodside Ave.
Yeah, there's 2 wood sides. There's one that comes off Charnock and then one that comes off Main Street. And crossing 3 is the one that comes off Main Street and then is gonna connect the one side to the other.
Alrighty then. So what's he saying here? Is this
I'm trying to gather that.
401 water quality supplement number 1?
So I think it's because the crossing on 3 was built smaller. He's discussing if it still meets the crossings. So
I think there's also another communication in there from,
DEP,
yeah,
which might help.
and I don't know if this is in response to what they
I
said.
believe so. DCRD.
Where did I put it?
Is that one? I think that one's just in the other.
What's the email from Lucas Environmental? I don't know if his was in response to,
Oh, might have it at the bottom.
Or maybe I
There we
just
go.
put it in the,
Okay. So this is what this is stemming from. Sorry to bounce around, guys.
It's okay.
The arch culvert was not what was provided to DEP and therefore not approved in your 401. It may not have implications, however, we need to evaluate this as it is a different structure with a different shape than what was improved. Condition 7 of your permit does require that Mass DEP is notified in writing of any plan changes for this project what might affect blah blah blah, and will determine if it requires revision. Please provide an analysis of how the proposal meets the stream crossing standards and provide the wetland resource area impact calculations associated with the proposed arch culvert so we can have the information that we need to evaluate the change.
that explains Chris.
So that explains now
Right,
Chris's response,
Right.
which at least in his email saying it is going to require an additional 575 square feet of wetland replication. So let's see. For crossing 3, summary of stream crossing. Structure type, standard has been met. Embedment, standard has been met. Crossing span, standard has been met. Substrate, standard is met. Water depth and velocity, standard is met. Openness ratio, that's bigger than 0.82 feet, so I'm assuming he's saying this is met.
Well, he, in his previous note, he had said it was only 17 foot wide, and there it's calling for 18. Assumes 18-foot span. They must have measured it when they were out there
Oh
and
my
measured up at
gosh.
17.
Yeah, it was-
yes.
off by a foot. This standard has been met. The spankful width of culvert extends 13 feet.
So I'm confused about everything
Match
else.
pre-construction substrate, water depth and velocity. Summary of stream crossing
Alright.
standards, compliant crossing.
So it looks like the openness ratio is the only thing that is kind of unclear if that's been met with this change.
So like Tim just said, assumes an 18-foot span.
Right. Which then they called out, it's only a 17-foot span.
Anyone good at math?
No.
No.
Not like this on the fly.
Never mind.
Yeah, no.
I'm thinking that they're just gonna, Lucas is probably gonna have to just justify that 17 foot will work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he said somewhere in there that they were gonna have to add 500.
575
Yeah.
square feet of
Hmm,
wetlands.
okay.
Although,
Will that
Yeah, right here.
require an amendment? to the
well, that's the
rules?
thing that I'm getting to, I guess in my head, is if this is the one that we approved, not only should they be making this change for the 401, but to the order of conditions that we approved.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, it's great. I mean, if they're gonna be providing an update to DEP, I mean, we should piggyback on that.
Especially if they're doing additional wetland impacts,
Mm.
then
Then is that an amendment? I didn't say that word, did I, Melissa?
I mean, it's
sorry.
always up to our discretion. You know, typically things that are more invasive, you ask for a new NOI. I think in this case, like, it's still a crossing,
The delineation didn't change though,
right, and they're owning up to it, so I think we can work with them at that point.
without an amendment.
With an amendment, not a new
A new filing. Oh
filing,
gee.
just an amendment. But I think, yeah, an amendment with a new approved plan.
Right, and the updated,
The performance standards and everything else.
right, stream crossing standard, okay. So they have to determine where the additional replication will go?
So it's up above that they were gonna communicate with DEP once they figured out the locations. Would you like me to reach out on behalf of the commission and just say to please keep the commission in the loop with those communications as well?
As an amendment, you can even
Yeah.
use forward as saying as an amendment
Okay.
could be required if there's a change.
Could you just go back
Yeah, sorry.
to that first plan right there?
This one. So this is what it's
That's
supposed to be.
showing 18 feet inside to inside, so.
That Rufus Putnam house, how about that?
That's why I guess I can't wrap my head around
This is-
how it's a foot shorter, because usually they're precast, aren't
Yeah, I
they?
know,
Like
like-
standard,
So you think Rebecca like
Well-
actually measured it?
Yeah, they must have.
cause what, that came from Alan's email?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an old one.
So look at all the stuff she asked for.
I mean, it's possible you could look, it's an open bottom, it's possible you could lower the invert in there to gain some square footage.
Yeah. Interesting, okay. Yeah, so I would say do exactly what you said.
Okay.
I think I have to wrap my head around this a little bit more.
Right, yeah, this is,
And I'll see if maybe Chris can provide any more insight before the January 21st meeting, cause it looks like he might be going out there before that, cause it said he'd have a monitoring report within 30 days, and that was issued December 17th, so.
Yep.
Maybe we'll have more info before the next meeting too?
That would be nice.
well, yeah, I mean, like, there's a list of 4 things that Rebecca wants for construction. And she said they already cleared some trees without an ECB inspection. She wants the replication areas staked.
Is Quinn going out and still doing inspections for planning board?
Yes, they are.
Would he do inspections for the crossings too as part of the planning board decision?
I don't
As an
know
infrastructure?
if he would specifically do that, but I can ask
Cause he
him.
sees he's copied on these, I was just wondering.
Yes, cause we do still get bills from him for site
Okay.
visits that he's doing to usually like once a month.
Okay. Cause I'd be curious on his thoughts if he has any.
I can ask him.
Alright, and I think in the meantime, I would suggest commissioners go out and take a look at this too.
Bring a tape measure.
Bring a tape measure, some boots. Don't get stuck forever.
It sounds like the reason it all started was because,
The dewatering pipe
yeah,
was first,
right, so that's why this only came up.
yeah.
Is that, are we looking for something on that? Is that kinda-
I
Seems like
think,
they handled it,
I think that is what
yeah.
is part of the additional replication is for too, because they altered
Oh.
BVW by putting in the temporary pipe.
Right.
But they also made the culvert shorter, which infringes upon, instead of spanning the entire wetland, I'm sure it impacted some of that too. So my understanding looking at this is that the additional replication is due to those infringements.
The whole
Yeah.
thing. Okay.
I could be wrong, but that's what I
Yeah,
think
makes
is
sense.
Chris is getting to.
I wish Chris would hurry up, I need a report from him. Finish Brice 11 so I can get my stuff.
Just working on this.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Please stop needing him. Yeah, it's not useful. Okay. Any other questions or actions you wanna take on this
Oh my gosh.
tonight. I personally don't think I'm ready for an action, cause I don't quite completely understand it.
I mean, I think maybe we should just take some time to review these materials,
Yeah.
because it is a lot of information, and we weren't in the loop on it. I mean, Tamika, you were.
And then,
And I'll see if I can get some more information between now and the next meeting to help clarify it for you guys too.
Okay. Let's keep that going.
hiss at you.
Means it's cold.
Yeah. It's boiling. Alright, cool. Alright, so we'll take this up on the 21st, and I would suggest, you know, guys, if you're interested, put some eyes on it. I think it might help better understand what's going on.
Can you just pop in there anytime?
Yeah, we have an order, so we're allowed on the property.
With our badge?
With our badges.
With our necklaces. Yes.
Alright, where'd my agenda go? Okay. There's nothing else on that. The only other item that was on the agenda is to discuss plan to continue work on the bylaw. So what I had Tamika do is print out, sorry, the one that was on top that has the draft on it is at least the start of a potential bylaw language. It's definitely not complete. I don't even think I have the last section completely done. And then the others are other bylaws that we had in the 1 point. So there's Southborough's, Holden's, Gardner's, Spencer's, and then the MACC model bylaw as well.
This is great you printed these out.
I thought that would be a lot easier than us trying to scroll and go back and forth.
So much.
So I wanted to at least get some initial thoughts on, you know, I kind of pulled a little bit from everywhere based on what we talked about last time, and just kind of what I'm more familiar in, having seen work and through some of the mass conservation professionals chats lately. So, you know, pretty much in every bylaw, the purpose is exactly the same. It's, yeah, kinda is what it is.
Yeah.
I ended up putting in, cause we kind of went back and forth on the jurisdiction. I did put in the 25-foot no touch in the bylaw. And my thoughts on that is that if we just put it in the regs are very easy to change, which is both good and bad. It's also a fact that if it's something we feel very strongly about keeping long-term, that, you know, the regulations just need kind of a hearing of the commission and a majority vote. So that 25 no touch could be taken away by another commission makeup. Not to say that that's likely at this point, but like, I think that's just kind of what was going through my head. If that's really the end goal, then that should be harder to change, which needs town meeting, and should really be clear within the bylaw that like this is our intent. So that's kind of the reason that I put it in here. Obviously, we can talk about it. If we're not comfortable with that, then we can take it out. And then, you know, added in the vernal pool aspects, both isolated wetlands, isolated land subject to flooding, giving them a buffer zone as well. So land subject to flooding or floodplain doesn't have buffer zones, but under a bylaw, it would now have the same 100-foot buffer zone as other resource areas. And then also that last sentence in the first paragraph was what Glenda was getting to about areas of surface water that are kind of pre-connecting to streams or bordering vegetated, so that it doesn't have to border surface waters. So that, because sometimes that area before the BVW, before it goes into the water body, isn't jurisdictional, but with this, it would be, cause it's still, you know, it still has
It's still a channel.
it's still a channel, it makes no
gonna
sense that it's
convey-
not, yeah.
It's gonna convey flow. I mean, Greenwood Estates in Holden's a perfect example.
Right, and in my mind, if you take that channel away, there's nothing feeding
What
the
are you
body
doing? Like you're
anymore.
just,
Yeah.
well, you're disconnecting the surface water, but.
Yeah,
So they don't, so we would then have jurisdiction on intermittent streams themselves, regardless if there's BBW upstream or downstream, right?
right.
Okay. But is that something we can, is that at our discretion, or does it make it automatically?
I think it could, yeah, this kind of puts it automatically. We could then in the regs kind of put like, we can further discuss on a case by case if that's something that we're more interested in. Kind of like what we talked about for the isolated wetlands. I saw that most commonly further discussed in regs versus bylaws.
Okay,
But it's something to think about if we do want it in the bylaw.
okay.
And then, you know, something we've always talked about is that agricultural exemptions will still remain. We're not taking those away. So I put that in both the jurisdiction and the exemption and exception section. I saw that pretty commonly. And then for the exemptions, also keeping things for utilities and emergency projects, which are kind of the two common ones that we see. You know, as long as they're not enlarging these utilities, then they're exempt, which is their exemption under the WPA. So all exemptions that are in here just follow the WPA, and we're basically reiterating that we're holding them here, but all the others shall not apply. And if at the next meeting, you want me to bring a list of all the exemptions, just to make sure that we have them all, we can do that too. I didn't for this meeting, cause I just wanted you to kind of put eyes on this. First and foremost, if anything kind of immediately jumped out at you. And then and this is all like, I tried to make it very spread out to look at first, so it's not all bunched up. That's why it looks like it's a lot of freaking pages, but so under section 4, the applications and fees, you know, kind of very standard language about an application, you know, within the jurisdictional areas are to be submitted to the commission. You know, the plans that you file under the WPA may be appropriate and submitted, you know, and the same ones to be submitted to us, but we can also further call out in the regulations anything else specific that we are requiring on a plan as well. And then number 3 in that section was just standard pretty much on every bylaw that I saw, about, you know, if you wanna know if it's jurisdictional, submit an RTA, or an ANRAD. Which seems kind of obvious to me, but it was always in there, so I put it in. And then for fees, saying that there'll be a separate filing fee that's set by the regulations, and this is in addition to the WPA. That we would consider consultant fees that be put in that 53G account, which is state MGL. And only costs related to that review will be utilized out of this account. I also added in, because I think it's good practice, that we would waive the filing fees filed by any government agency, so that's any town project or DCR, etc., which is the case under the WPA. And then for notice and hearings, section 5. So I realized that I think every bylaw that I looked at included abutter notices for every application that they submit, which would then include RDAs. A lot of them in the model suggested putting it out to 300 feet from the property line, but I kept it at the 100 foot, which is what the WPA is, so think on that if that's something that you're comfortable with. But all other language in that is kind of already what is required under the WPA. So the only addition would be abutter notices for RDAs.
Sorry, what town is this? Oh, this is Gardner, and this is, sorry, I see it now. Southborough.
Southborough, Gardner, yours.
What does Southborough? Well, I'll let you finish.
No, go
I
ahead.
was just wondering, was Southborough similar? Was your bylaw and regs similar to like Spencer and Holden, or do you have additional protections in
I
Southborough?
would say they're similar. What I found going through is there are definitely things that I didn't like about my bylaw in Southborough, specifically about the application section.
I have that.
And that's so bad because it talks about
Yeah.
application for permits, RDAs, but it doesn't talk about application for permits of any other permit.
It's weird.
Isn't it weird? And I didn't realize how weird that really was until I was like, wait,
Yeah.
but like every section is pretty much the same.
Okay.
I'd say the main difference in these bylaws was under, it was either Gardner or Spencer. Their consultant fees and filing fees were really weird. It was like project costs.
Oh, yeah.
And
They use the WPA categories?
no, they have like the project cost,
Oh.
which would then be the consultant.
No,
Yeah,
no, no,
that's
no.
crazy to me. And then I think it must have been Spencer then, that like they had all of their special conditions, but like some of them specific, but not all specific. And I feel like a lot of those were regulation aspects of it. So I think maybe partly of why I stopped on the conditions section was that I was going a little blind. But yeah, I would say those are like 75% of every bylaw was the MACC bylaw.
Yeah, right,
Then it was just further tailored to like clearly things that were town specific.
right.
So
They have stormwater management
it
in
just was,
Spencer?
it was just very like, I don't know, it's and it's a weird way it's formatted for those conditions.
More than 2 lots including subdivisions created by the A&R process. Wow.
Yeah, it's a low threshold.
Wow, so they're like,
So they
they're
basically,
saying stormwater is required for A&R lots? Or
I
2 or
mean,
more?
a lot of stormwater, the towns that have, or that, almost every town's supposed to have the stormwater management bylaw, the erosion control bylaw. Anything over, the like maximum is anything over an acre is jurisdictional. And that includes common developments, so typically
Right,
2
okay.
lots can hit that pretty quickly.
Okay,
So that's not crazy to me, but it's crazy maybe more crazy that it's in their wetlands bylaw when they probably also have a stormwater bylaw.
when they could just put it in their reg and they already have it.
Yeah.
When did they revise this then? Amended town
22.
meeting, 5/6.
2022,
Oh, 22, okay.
yeah, so it's been updated pretty recently. Okay, so back to section 5 and the notice. So the main difference between the abutter notices is some bylaws require abutter notices to contain like the entire application packet and the whole
Oh.
shebang. So
Oh.
I just put basically what we do under the WPA is that it shall contain the notice of where to obtain it. Because
That's so much,
it's
so
very
much.
wasteful,
Cost.
right?
Who's gonna do all that? Like,
Right, so, and to,
you need a secretary, like, of your very own secretary.
yeah, and it just, like, for some, I think of some of these projects, especially
I
when, like,
know.
they're so tight together, that That'd just be crazy to me, I don't know.
And we used to just say it's available at the town clerk's office if you wanna see it.
Right.
Or call the agent.
Exactly.
Or
So they
DP.
Yeah,
And we put it online too on the website.
right. So just the notice and certification is what I put in there for requirement, so. And then hearings, you know, very standard about notice in the paper, which is WPA, you know, public hearing within 21 days. Once we close, issuance within 21 days, which follows WPA. You know, we're gonna have our hearing at the same time as the WPA one. And then the only additional things that I found really important based on kind of some of our discussions and their presence in other bylaws is the kind of a better outline of authority of why we can continue a hearing, you know, and why we think we need more information. So usually you can justify, you know, we're lucky in that we don't have a deadline to act like a lot of the other boards like planning and zoning.
Right, yeah.
But
Opportunity.
you know, if we get an ANRAD in the middle of summer and we drag on it, like people are, middle of winter,
Right.
middle of summer, middle of winter, and we drag on it, like, well, here's why, like, it's pretty obvious, it's within our bylaw.
And so many, like, applicants just don't know that you don't, even DEP said they don't have to verify a delineation in the winter, right?
Yeah,
Up to like March or something like that.
yeah, like a lot of places have like the policy, so if we're making a bylaw, we might as well put the policy in the bylaw.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Section 6 is coordination with other boards, so just saying that we'll send it to a notice at least to planning board, board of health, zoning, and others at the commission's discretion that may be appropriate, and then that we could solicit their comments for input, but you know, we don't need to necessarily follow them if we so choose.
So we have like even in the wetland protection, like we don't have to issue an order of conditions if there's another outstanding bylaw in town. Like say that's in the wetland protection, say they didn't get their land disturbance permit, their stormwater permit. It's another town bylaw. We don't have to send an order until they actually have that permit in hand from the stormwater committee.
Really? Or is it just they can't start?
We can, it's.
It's in your bylaw, you're saying?
No, it's in the Wetland Protection Act.
Really? Take a look at that.
Yeah, I can try to find a reference. but-
Okay.
Is that something, I'm not just saying, my point is that something we would want to do, like,
I feel like that's hard sometimes because some other decisions, like I feel like when there's that, oh my god, what am I trying to say? So I know when I'm at work, applicants always battle between planning and Concom of like, oh, well, we're waiting for their comments, oh, we're waiting for their comments, and like none wants to close first, and I feel like it drags it out.
yeah.
So if, like, that's why we kinda just put in the conditions, like, you have to get all your permits. And if,
And you can do them concurrently.
yeah, and like, you know, if you wanna close one earlier or submit to one earlier, like, then just be cognizant that if the other board changes something, you have to come back and get an amendment. So, I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I
You know
don't
what I mean?
know that we would have to exercise that. I mean, people are gonna get out the permits that they have to get. I just like it, cause then
I'm
I
just
have,
gonna say too, like in the viewpoint permitting system, their permits can't be issued until every department and board has signed off on it.
oh, the building permits?
Correct, so if you know,
That's
they
how
don't
ours
yet have their
is,
permit
yeah.
from Conservation Commission, but the planning board gave them their special permit, they still can't get their building permit until everybody has
Right.
signed off.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy, okay.
So everybody's happy.
Yep, so it's good.
That's something to think about, for sure.
Let me see if I can find that reference
That would be
list.
good. Okay, and the last section that I kind of started on was the permits and conditions, which, because I feel like it's not conducive to put what our specific conditions of our decision are in the bylaw. because those can very easily change and kind of are permit specific. So things that I did see, kind of looking at all these and looking at the model bylaw, you know, just kind of, I think A, B, and C were pretty much in every one I could find. Just talking about, you know, that, you know, we will issue a decision after a public hearing. You know, if you issue a permit, then, if we're approving a permit, then we're gonna impose conditions, basically, to make sure that we're protecting those values. But we also are allowed to deny a permit if you fail to meet these meet these requirements. And that, you know, we will outline them in our decision. D is kind of standard, just setting our expiration to line with the WPA of 3 years. The only thing we might wanna discuss, which we don't have to necessarily do tonight, is that last sentence of D is, I put any permit may be renewed for additional 1-year periods. If we wanna do what, or up to a 3-year period like the WPA, something to think about, as we move forward. One thing I really liked, I forget which town had it, was number E, that for good cause, the commission may revoke or modify a permit as long as we give notice and hold a public hearing. I find it common to see it and very rarely done. Usually there's enforcement orders, but the modification part can come into play if somehow, you know, the regulations or even conditions on site have dramatically changed. You know, maybe they've sat on a permit forever. You know, we just got another permit extension act. Like in the town I work, weirdly have a permit that was issued in 2005 and that's been caught in so many permit extensions and random extensions that it got reopened and it's still valid until this year. Don't even start with me.
Oh my gosh,
So like
that's crazy.
the stormwater standards have changed since then.
Since 2005?
Yes. So
That's a long time.
it's like it's the nightmare of my dreams.
I think it was like 4 when it was drafted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, listen.
It's fine. It's fine. I was 12. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
well.
Young face. So I don't put it in there as to say, you know, we're gonna change your permit at any time. I'm saying this is like if things all of a sudden, you know, we find something new, like, oh, hey, we explored this part of the site and there's a vernal pool, or
That happened to me.
yeah, like
Oh my gosh,
things
that's
change when
awful.
projects sit too.
Yeah.
So that's like a worst case scenario.
That's a good one, I like that.
F is just saying that like we're just gonna issue one decision. We're not making a new one, so you'll only get one order with conditions under the bylaw in it as well. And then G is like nothing can happen until you get it recorded at the registry. So that's what I have so far. I think there are others that could probably be added in there. I just went blind and thought that this was enough to at least start thinking about tonight.
That was great.
Right, so could we just review
Yeah.
where we're being more stringent than the act
Sure.
in this draft?
Yes, in this draft, we are being more stringent in the jurisdiction by adding both resource areas and the 25 foot,
25-foot no touch.
thanks. Jeez.
You know what you meant.
Yeah, I got there.
So ILSF, I'm sorry, I think I missed that before.
Vernal pools, isolated vegetated wetlands, and also giving them buffer zones of 100 feet to ILSF and BLSF.
Is there a size requirement for an IVW?
So that was, one session I also didn't do yet was definitions.
Oh,
Which, cause I thought that would require a little bit more discussion,
Yeah.
and wanted to kind of get the meat and decide what we needed to actually identify, cause like some of these resource areas, like vernal pools, we should further identify, that it's not any just certified ones, it can be certifiable, vernal pools.
Yeah, we have that in Holden, if you wanna look at that
Yeah.
definition.
So definitions, I'm kind of holding on, cause that,
Yeah, and we should make sure that surface waters is defined, because people don't understand
Mhm.
what surface waters
Yeah.
includes.
so yeah, under jurisdiction, we're adding resource areas, adding buffer zones, consistent to bordering buffer zones to isolated buffer zones, to isolated resource areas, my god, I'm sorry. And adding the 25 foot no touch, that one's hard.
And 25 NDZ,
NDZ.
NDZ.
That seems even harder.
And then, so the next change would be in section 4. Would be the fees, that we would have a separate filing fee schedule.
And they go into the 53G account or a different type of account?
The filing fees go into a 53E1/2, which is a revolving fund. And then consultant review fees go into the 53G.
Right, I never knew, because that's what I'm trying to figure out for what I'm doing now. I want to put local bylaw, like fees in, but I have no idea. So it's a 53E1/2.
That has to be established at town meeting.
Which I was just thinking, if
But now
we do
they're
that in
gonna
tandem with the bylaw.
established at town meeting?
So it gets established at town meeting and
Every
then
year.
every year they vote to approve the maximum spending limit for that account every year at the annual town meeting.
Do we have to have it set up that way?
It's MGL.
Yeah,
So that's what my town council's gonna tell me, right?
yeah.
The same thing that you're
Yeah.
telling me?
I told
It's
you
like,
for free.
I hope that's where you're going, yeah.
Okay, thank you, 53E account.
However, 53G
In half.
account is
Is consult.
different and
Is
that's not
peer
peer
review.
Yeah,
consultants.
and that's not town.
Jesus.
That's not
Town
meeting.
meeting,
Nope, that could just be set up by the
53E
account.
town, okay.
3.5.
E1/2,
It makes a difference.
it does make a difference.
Fine, 3E1/2.
The next more stringent is section 5 under notice by requiring abutter notices for RDAs. And then
I never really understood why we treated RDAs differently than NOIs.
it's bizarre to
You
me.
know, it's like where you have to publish it as a hearing, but it's not really
it's
a
not a
hearing, so then
hearing.
you're not
Yeah,
notifying
why do you have to have a
people,
Leo
but-
ad if you're not, I mean.
Yeah, I think
So now it's a
that makes
hearing,
more sense,
right,
yeah.
yeah. So now it is a hearing. Pretty much everything in the hearing section is the same as the WPA, besides just stating that, you know, we'll hear it at the same time and that we have reasons to continue. For coordination with other boards, we already are supposed to be sending it to Board of Health, planning, and I think maybe just planning and Board of Health, I forget. So, I like information sharing, and it's just a quick email, it's just saying like, hey, we received this application, if you have any comments, please send them to us before our
Right.
hearing on XYZ.
Right, because the planning board asks for Concom input on when they knew there's a new development coming.
Yeah, the ZBA bylaw requires us to send it to certain groups to get comment as well.
I think that's really the only things. Cause everything else, you just kinda have to write down to say this is what the process is, even if it's the same as under the WPA. So that's the only things that are more strict so far. It's really the jurisdiction is the biggest one.
I like the 25-foot no disturb zone stuff. And I like that, could we put a statement in there that they can request a waiver to the 25-foot NDZ?
Yeah, I think that I saw within regs,
That was in the red.
that was in the regs. I'll double check, but I don't think I saw any that talked about, yeah, cause the rest of, basically what I didn't do was a lot of the common law information, which is like burden of proof, appeals. Severability, which is the
Oh,
same in
okay.
everyone.
Oh, I
the
see, okay,
definitions.
yep. So in the reg, we'll have something about like activities in the buffer zone, work in the 25-foot.
Yes, yeah,
If they want a waiver, this is the only way they can
yep,
get a waiver.
exactly.
All right, good to know. And then the definitions and the procedural stuff, like election of officers, are we gonna have all that in our reg?
I don't think we need to have election of officers, cause it's not a
Stuff like that.
Concom bylaw, but yeah. We would have,
Election and operation,
General.
yeah,
okay.
so that's already in
And then standard conditions are in the reg.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be like the standard conditions that they're like it's not like the conditions of the permit, which, so that's what got me the most. That was the hardest for me to try and figure out. Cause it was like, these are the things that we're talking about. I mean, I think most of it was talking about like, we hold these things valuable. And we're saying that we know and we recognize that alterations within the 100-foot, cause impacts to wetland resource areas. So it's not necessarily listing all the conditions of approval, but just
Well, we're
like,
gonna have our own special conditions.
Right, so
in
we don't-
addition to,
yeah, so we don't have to list
Standard.
those
right,
we don't have to list the standard ones even in the bylaw or the
That's
regs, cause
perfect.
those are whatever.
that's awesome.
They're not whatever, but like.
I know what you mean,
Yeah.
they're in the WPA.
Or they're just like, cause those can always just.
What is this?
Oh, okay, it's not just me, okay.
No, I can't breathe.
So I'm like,
See Fafford versus Concom of Barnstable. That's the same Fafford I'm thinking.
it probably is, yeah.
Oh joy. He's got two more in the 55 and over community and there, he's out of here. I'm gonna miss Fafford.
I left my
Aren't you?
chocolate head back.
God help us.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Who's behind the scenes here today?
Peter.
Oh, Peter's still back there? I thought he left.
Wouldn't blame
He's probably
him.
falling asleep now.
He's soaking up his last Concom meeting.
He's snoring, I can hear it through the wall.
No, he's riveted. So is there anything that immediately stood out to you as like heck no, or even heck yes, or maybe we should think about this a little bit more? I mean, this is we don't have to decide anything tonight, obviously, because I also want Skip and Jared to be here.
Definitely.
But I'll put this draft up, the progress draft up on the SharePoint as well under that bylaw and regs folder. I don't think I did that before I got here today, so you can look at it electronically. But I wanted you to have the hard copies too, to kind of, I find it easier, as horribly as it is, to look at the hard.
Yeah.
info, especially when you're looking at so many section by section, so.
The
Really
other
that
thing I
jurisdiction.
thought about, Melissa, for buffers is ponds and lakes 100 in WPA?
Yes, unless it's a great pond or whatever
Okay.
it is.
Alright, cause we have 200 on lakes and ponds. That's a lot. 200 feet's a lot
In Holden, you have 200 feet?
on lakes and ponds, yeah.
What does Spencer have? Cause my grandmother lives in Spencer and we had to do an order conditions, she lives on a lake. And I'm just curious to know what theirs is in Spencer.
I feel like Spencer didn't. Yeah, they're just 100.
I don't know, I feel like, we never regulate, that's the thing I don't, like, we never regulate anything on a pond in the 100 to 200 foot. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like we won't let people develop in the 100, 200. It's like, I don't get what the point of having that. Maybe it's just like a precautionary type of thing.
Yeah, or just cause some of them don't,
Or they ran into issues in the
Flow.
past.
so they get all that runoff.
Oh yeah, that's a good point too. The
I think
storm,
that's the biggest thing that I can think of
the
is just
stormwater
the-
inputs.
in the residential, even just the residential runoff with all the chemicals and
Oh yeah, that's true too.
fertilizer and you get
Stormwater.
algae and gross, especially if it's a recreational pond.
You don't need to tell me. Get it,
Get it?
get it. Well, that's food for thought.
Yeah, you do a great job of explaining things.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, because I was, like, I opened the file the other night and I was like,
Well, that's why, like, I had to.
oh my gosh, there's
I felt
like,
like,
no,
I know, 'cause
way too much.
when I was thinking
information.
about this over break, and I was like, how are we gonna start really thinking about this in a way that's conducive without anything, like, we have so much to look at, but
Like, I
like,
felt so
nothing of ours.
overwhelmed, and
Yeah.
then I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we have kind of a deadline, you know?
Right, so that's, I like started just copying and pasting and like looking at all of them and being like, nah, I like this section better. So like just taking from everywhere and putting it in.
And keeping Rutland, the community of Rutland in your brain. the
Exactly,
whole
so
time.
like the agriculture very much, you know, front and forward.
Mhm.
You know, things that we talked about with the vernal pools and stuff like that, front and forward, so. But also, you know, like simple.
Yeah,
Got Peter in the back of my mind, simple.
simple. Keep it simple.
Which
I
is
like
like, I
simple.
was like, I'll do definitions at the end.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's probably the most cumbersome part.
Yeah,
I know, but like, so the definitions you can take from the Wetland Protection Act, it's only that we will have to further define vernal pools.
yeah. Storm, surface water, you know, I don't think it'll be a huge, like, some have like 5, you know, and some have 25. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, it's like, it's the things that are very specific to their bylaws. And, but like the rest of it, yeah, is just WPA,
If you don't have a definition in there, it just refers back to.
WPA.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So you don't have to
There's a
Right.
statement in there that says,
pick the ones that are
Yeah.
important.
right,
Yep. Exactly, so just, yeah, the ones that we've kind of added to within here, you know, that we might have a separate meeting that we want to more accurately define.
So Melissa, what do you think should be our priorities for now with the bylaw in terms of when we have to go to the bylaw committee and that, and legal?
I would say work off this for the next 2 weeks, you know, and I will even continuously update the copy that I upload to SharePoint so you can keep looking at it. I would start making notes of things that you think we need a definition for, so we can make sure those are included. And if they're, you know, just general things that jump out at you as you look at these other bylaws or our bylaw and being like, I really don't like this or I really like this, I think it should be included, because there are some really very specific things that are different, you know, within each bylaw, each town,
Right.
you know, that may have nothing to do with us, but
Right.
might be like, oh, that's actually a really interesting thought. Or I like the way that they put that better than the way that the model has it. Which is kind of what the cherry picking that I was doing, so I would say do that. Because yeah, the rest of, I think what we need is really just the definitions and that standard language about the burden of proof appeals, et cetera, the legal jargon. And so I think we're scarily almost there, which seems crazy.
It's so exciting.
It seems crazy.
I'm really impressed that you even have this tonight.
It needed to get out of my brain. Cause I didn't want us to just sit here and stare at each other.
I'm surprised that
No, it's
you
awesome.
had this prepared, like, that's crazy.
Put a lot of time in, obviously.
I mean, it was a lot of copy and paste, I'll be honest.
Well, yeah, but still,
Oh, you did it well.
you're taking time to have to do it on top of your
Growing
regular
a
job
human.
and building
I
permits
was gonna
and
say, and growing a human. You're bad.
It did put me
being
to
all
sleep.
hormonal and stuff.
Yeah. I could not find my computer charger on the way out. I might have yelled at my husband. But it's okay,
Oh,
we're
he hasn't
here.
moved out yet?
No.
That's great.
He actually told me he's very impressed I haven't been very angry.
No.
It's fine. So,
Right.
I think unless there's something you guys wanna talk about on the bylaw. That's all I got, man.
I don't remember if I put it in my email or not, or if it was just in my head, but the next meeting on the 21st, you guys are gonna be in the Calkins room. I
Okay.
reserved it for you because it's the same night as the select board meeting, and so I will also not be at the Concom meeting, cause I will be at the select board meeting, so.
Priorities.
I know, so I'll watch the recording and I'll get the minutes for you guys.
recorded.
Yes,
Okay.
yep, you guys should be recorded in there,
Perfect.
So January 21.
yeah, and I'm gonna have a sign made up to put on the door, just so that people coming in know which way to go.
Even better. Even better. Okay. Does anyone have anything else?
Is there any action on the, thing, the?
I haven't gotten anything from anybody, no,
Oh,
any interest,
commissioner?
the open seat, yeah.
Yeah, good luck with that.
We'll keep pushing it though, cause
That's
every
good.
once in a while I try to throw a post out there
Yeah.
for this board or for that board to kinda keep it in people's minds, especially in the winter months when things are quiet,
Yeah, I was having
so I'm not giving
zero
up.
luck finding someone, so I just finally reached out to the commission, like, can you guys think of anybody with a pulse? Would wanna
With a
go-
pulse.
Would come,
3 or 4 different people and they're like, no. Like, come on,
I'm not giving up.
you're an environmental science teacher, you'd love it.
I finally got,
Stuff like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's hard to get people to make the time commitment,
Yeah.
you know, with everything
Yeah.
else in life, but I mean, at least we offer remote option, which I think helps,
Yeah.
and you know, you guys are only a couple of times a month, so.
So that brings me to a question. So I'm a big proponent of like environmental ed. And this might help recruit somebody. Melissa and I have been talking about maybe hosting like so every spring, if you're not aware, like there's big night. It's when like the salamanders and stuff migrate to the vernal pools and
yeah.
all this stuff. And I tried to get something going last year
Oh, I remember that.
and it was moderately successful.
It was like independent.
Yeah. But this year I thought it would be cool to have like more official thing and maybe have our own thing here in Rutland and then have it like spawn other events in Rutland or Holden or Paxton or Princeton. So I didn't know if Concoms are the groups to typically do something like that or if it's Conservation Trust.
Sense,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
That sounds fun.
Absolutely.
And we can help behind the scenes with getting information out there through the town's resources, you know?
yep,
Would you wanna set up like a specific spot or multiple spots?
that's what
or-
we'd have to talk to. I don't know even who we would have to talk to. I don't know. Cause I'm sure there's better spots than others. I have a few spots, but they're probably not great for like a big event.
Do we have any, like, local vernal pool experts around here?
We've got DCR and Mass Wildlife we can tap into.
Yeah.
I did vernal pool work, but that was my previous life, 23 years ago. When I worked with Dan Clark, who was on that letter.
Oh, yeah, wow, that's funny. Who is Oxbow?
That's who I used to work for them too.
You work for Oxbow, where are they?
They're in Boxborough or
Are they not
or Ayr.
around here?
they're up there.
Air?
That area, Boxford,
Oh.
somewhere up there. Acton.
Oh,
Acton.
That's too far away.
But actually, the president reached out to me of Oxbow.
Butler.
And he retired last year.
He did?
That's what Scott Smyers now.
Oh,
And I
wow.
worked with Scott closely at Wachusett Mountain, and he would like to be involved with whatever we do.
Okay.
when in the spring does it happen?
The first warm rain, so when it rained, like over 50-degree rains, typically. But with the change and all that stuff, it's like, there's not just one night anymore, it's like
Yeah.
spread through several weeks,
Sure, interesting.
so.
Yes, the only thing that goes through my mind is I don't know how available I'll be in the moment.
Right, that's what I was thinking, the same thing too.
I would love to help plan it, but the physical aspects of it may not be applicable to
Yeah,
me.
so it'd be like
Love to do Something
mid-April.
like that.
Yeah,
That'd be
Mid-April,
so
I would
fun.
say.
If there's anything that I can help with, I'm not good with I don't know about vernal pools, but
Yep.
I can help on the other coordinating and
absolutely.
advertising side of things.
I was thinking about reaching out to like the Boy and Girl Scout groups and all that stuff, or Cub Scouts
Yeah.
and all that, but I don't know.
That's a good idea. What
Keep it-
about the schools? What about
schools would be
like
awesome.
the PTOs and stuff? Maybe
Yeah.
we could kinda gather a
Oh,
group
yeah,
together,
that's a good idea too.
Right.
you know?
Yeah, the Central Tree biology teacher, she is interested too. Schomel. She used to be on this committee years ago. Jen Schmoll.
Oh, Jen Schmoll.
Schmoll, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I tried
Also,
to,
Brian,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. I think when we were doing open space stuff, I think Hubbardston has a ton of vernal
They do.
pools. And so I don't know who in Hubbardston is kind of the driver of that, but they might be another good resource just because I know they have a ton listed.
yeah, and that's something
sorry.
else I'd like to do is some sort of like vernal pool education, you know, how to get vernal pool certified on your property or whatnot. That would be like a cool little workshop. The town of, I think it's Lincoln. Now they have a conservation department, which we don't really have, but they have like conservation coffee and it's like talks with, you know, like little seminars where you can learn about invasive plants and what the Concom does and
Sounds like Lincoln.
invasive species.
Shall guard that,
Oh, yes.
Of the aged there.
And the events committee is hosting this year's community expo on Sunday, March 30th. And so that could be
That'd be a
another great
perfect timing.
opportunity for the Concom to set up a table and try to, you know, get some interest in, I know Melissa and Glenda had done it last year and it was.
And
It was
Jared,
the
Jared
first-
showed up at the
and
end.
Jared- Yeah, and it was like the first year, but the events committee is really gonna try to get the word out really early in the season to try to get some more participation. And this year it's actually gonna be down on the town common in front of the library.
that'd be much
It's not gonna be at the
better.
community center,
Yeah.
it'll be in the library as well. So just to keep in mind too.
I think that's a much better location.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Ron, when's usually is it March, late March, early April?
Early to mid-April, depends on when the
Early
ground
to-
thaws.
Early to mid-April, okay.
I think we did have one year in the last 2 years where it was like, we started things at the end of March and
Yeah.
it was terrifying.
We had like one small migration last year in February, it's like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
And then everything froze up
It
again.
was
Oh
scary.
my gosh, that was weird.
And then the first night, you were in this meeting, and
Oh,
before
yes.
I was on the board, and I was texting her from, the salamanders are moving.
Gosh, this is gonna sound like a stupid question, but do they run or do they walk?
They
Like,
walk,
do they jaunt or do they like?
they do exactly what Melissa's doing.
They've got 4 legs, they're salamanders.
So they're moving at a good clip.
Yeah, and these salamanders are like, they're like 8-9 inches long, they're big.
That's really
my God.
cool.
It's a technical maneuver.
Fun.
I just think it would be a cool thing to get the public involved and maybe
Absolutely.
pull like a parent or something to be on the
Yes.
committee.
Where can I get volunteers? I need some pools certified. I don't have time to do it.
Yep.
I need volunteers,
I
Brian.
know a bunch of pools in Rutland that I need certified, but they're private property.
Can you send me,
They just suggest you have landowner permission.
Right.
oh my gosh, don't get me started.
Maybe we know that.
We can't even talk about this.
Maybe we can say that's Joe Schmo from Idaho and he'll let you
I
on the
think
property,
we'll
you
know
know?
them, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we'll
It's
know
not
them.
gonna happen in this case.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so let's put it on the agenda for next meeting.
Yeah,
Okay. What would, did you call it the salamander migration?
yeah, we can say, you know, big night 24,
night.
25 or something. There is a Facebook page already too.
Oh,
So maybe, yeah, Brian, if you can think of people who are interested and could help.
we could even solicit too, once you guys
Yeah.
have a better idea of what you want it to look like,
Yeah.
we can solicit interest from the public on the town side as well.
Okay.
And say, hey, does anybody wanna get involved in this? And we can email the schools, and see if anybody there is
Yeah.
interested. Like you said, the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts.
Yep.
Yeah, and then
The
another,
library trustees could have their little, like a book reading about it, because there's
Oh my
books about,
gosh.
yeah.
Can you put together a quick list of the ones that you know about at least that are fairly accessible?
Yeah, yep.
And then we can,
I don't know many pools, I know crossing sites, but I don't know where the pools are.
yeah, that's, I
Like
think
Hillside Road up by
Yeah.
Alta Vista and,
well, cause the road crossing is like, that's what you want for
Yeah.
a big night, right? You
Yeah.
wanna protect the little.
What do they do? Oh, that's okay.
what do the wood frogs do?
I'm not good with that.
that's a nice friend.
That's something that this stomach will not allow me to do. Okay,
Yeah, it could
What
be,
about
it
like
could be fun.
public safety stuff?
Yeah, and typically, people who organize that, they work with the police department to close off roads, and
Okay.
I think Bolton has a huge event every year.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I've never heard of it before.
Yeah. They're
Maybe
going to
it can
do
be
one
the
in
next
Southborough,
big
weren't
thing
they,
in
Melissa?
Rutland.
I hope so.
You know, that'd be really cool.
You got a huge following.
Yeah, we have
At least on
hundred
the
and ninety-two
page.
members on the
Yeah.
page, so
Holy smokes.
You'll have 193 when I
Yeah,
get
there you
home.
I'll send it to you, Tamika.
Perfect.
I want the page too, where is it?
It's that one right there. Wachusett area herbs. Yep,
Wow. You really are a nerd.
I am.
Yeah, he is. He really is.
It's a term of affection in my book.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm a tree hugger.
Skip's not here to make the motion to close.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we'll talk about that, try and narrow down some details, start putting people together, locations together. And yes, thank you. I forgot you wanted to bring it up. My bad. Anything else?
Town report.
Tamika's drafting it. I don't care. No, just kidding.
Do we have to do anything?
So in the past, I've usually drafted it because a good portion of it is just data, like how many of each permit did we issue? And then when Peter was the chair, I would send it to Peter. Last year, I sent it to Melissa to make any edits and changes. So I try to do the bulk of the work, so it's not one more thing on your plate. But we kind of use the same format each year and just update the information.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we do.
It's pretty benign, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you guys wanna see it, we're happy to forward it out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And if there's something you guys want to
Does
do
it
different or
have,
add in, definitely.
So it has listed the names of the people.
Yes.
Yeah, so it kind of gives like an overview of what the commission does. It talks about how many permits were issued during that time period. It talks about who the current members were and what their terms that they're serving, the positions they served in.
So this is July 23 to,
Yes,
June.
through June 30th.
I mean,
of
July,
July 1 of 23 through
1.
June 30th of 24. It's so hard once I start working on the town report because I'm doing FY24 for that. We're in FY25. We're thinking about the FY26 budget.
I know,
My brain
it's-
is like,
I
oh, what
know,
am I
it's-
working on?
it's
Like, why am I back in 2023?
Yeah.
I know, it's
So weird.
horrible. Same thing with their stormwater, their stupid phase stormwater report that's due, I'm like, when do you need these dates for again? No.
Anything else? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, can we go get a drink now?
I will take a motion to adjourn, yes.
Yay.
To adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All
Second.
those in favor by roll call?
York and I.
Williams and I.
Dan's aye. We're adjourned,
That's a bit.
7:38.